Good afternoon, Professor Jones. My name is Lisa Wilson, and my group was Group 9 with employment and reviewing why they are all connected. So, my initial thought when I read the stories, sorry if I look down, I have my notes here. My initial thought when I read the stories was individuals basically having their own feelings, own emotions, and opinions on different things. For an example, the story where the young man was afraid. I should know this one. The latter story, sorry. The latter story was very interesting because it was based on all of them have miscommunications on expressing how they actually feel on an issue or a scenario and what to expect differently. He was basically struggling with communicating how he truly felt about heights and being in high areas of climbing ladders, and he didn't express that to his employer. I guess you can kind of sort of say it was based on pride, but when I guess you have a big ego, it's hard to structure on your emotions with on your reactions on how you really feel according to what you're doing. But I'm sorry. So I think again the biggest concern for me was the communication and how they all viewed things differently and felt a certain way. The story of "But What Do You Mean?" It had so much to do with communicating and how we perceive people, how we assume things should be, and that kind of was another gist of how all of the stories were. We see people as one way, or we, how they say, judge a book by its cover, when you really and truly do not know until you explore or you have a conversation with someone on how they would actually handle a situation. It was excuse me, a lot of conversating about who's right, who's wrong, what matters, what doesn't, and how we just view things differently when we're criticized as females or males. And again, that relates to the latter story because when the young man met his employer to him was a knight in shining armor. And then when he seen him again, he was like a crumbled old grumpy man. So he judged him as being independent and helpful, and then he turns and says, well, not so much anymore. But then at the end he goes back to being a knight in shining armor. Or even with the "But What Do You Mean" stories, they have a lot of parts where they're criticizing, apologizing on how we communicate as human beings, and for the most part it's all true because that's just how we communicate, how we see things from a one-sided perspective of having too much pride to be vulnerable and complacent where you don't want to deal with things, when reality is you just can be open and express how you feel. Excuse me. The story with Live Free and Starve was as well feelings and emotions with communicating. They went into detail about